What's up, Ocean? You got Matt here, and today I'm bringing you a guide on how to use Meowscarada, the grass starter from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. This Pokemon is absolutely cracked, one of the best starter Pokemon we've ever had, and honestly guys, you're going to see why in this video. So if you're excited, make sure you leave a like on the video. We're aiming for 75 likes on today's content. Subscribe to the channel for more daily Pokemon content. We're aiming for 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and also comment down below which of the 3 starters is your absolute favorite, and let me know which of the starters you want to see me cover tomorrow. But let's go ahead and jump on into it. Starting off with its stats, this Pokemon has 76 base HP, 110 attack, 70 defense, 81 special attack, 70 speed def, and then 123 speed. This Pokemon is a speed demon with a really nice attack stat at base 110. It is the fastest of all 3 of the starters in the Paldea region, and at base 530 overall, it continues the trend of really balanced starter Pokemon. It's got a grass and dark typing, which has quite a few different weaknesses, but also a good amount of resist. However, the typing for this Pokemon doesn't really matter too much because its ability is Protein. Before we go into that, let's talk a bit more about the typing and why it's so valuable. It's weak to Bug 4 times, it's weak to Fighting, Fairy, Fire, Poison, Flying, and Ice, while it resists Grass, Ghost, Dark, Water, Electric, Ground, and has an immunity to Psychic. Any single type that has an immunity is really good. And one of the things we've noticed in this generation is that there have been a lot of new dark type Pokemon that have been introduced, and the decks switch over. The amount of Pokemon that come from previous generations to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet will include a lot of dark types, and that's a good thing, because historically dark is a very rare typing. It's really strong because psychic types are so overwhelmingly powerful. Ghosts last generation in Sword and Shield were the most powerful typing out there, so having a good dark type to be able to handle them is really key. And with a Pokemon like Meowscarada that is innately a dark type and that can, well, either decide to keep its dark type if it goes for a dark move first, it will be very valuable in the long run. Let's move on to its abilities though. Overgrow and Protein. Overgrow is the standard starter ability. If you are under 33%, it boosts your grass type attacks by, I believe it's 33% as well, or it's 1.5 times, one or the other. Either way, it's a very strong option to be able to wear things down if you don't have access to Protein. But Protein, we know this. This is one of the best abilities in the game. The issue is, it got nerfed, and pretty heavily too. The way it used to work was that every single time you'd go for an attacking move, your type would become that move, period. So if you went for a fighting move, you become a pure fighting type Pokemon. If you were a grass type Pokemon or if you're a grass and dark type Pokemon rather, like Meowscarada is, and you go for a grass move, you become a pure grass type. So that's really important to note. But the way it changed in this generation is that now it only works on the first move. The first time you go for the attack, that is the only time Protein will activate. So if you're going for a grass move on this Pokemon, you're going to become a pure grass type, and that's it until you switch out and come back in. Yeah, it's a pretty big nerf here, but it does, I think it's well received and well needed actually. The fact that there is a nerf on this type of ability is really important because it really was just kind of, well, Pokemon like Libero Cinderace and Protein Greninja, who have similar abilities or the same ability in the case of Greninja, they were banned to Ubers, and they were banned in draft league circles, and in VGC they were, I mean, they're very good, but I don't even know if they were banned or not in the series they were available. But either way, the point I'm trying to make is these Pokemon with these abilities, with these speed stats and these coverage moves were really too good to be available. So I'm pretty happy that this Pokemon has the nerf to Protein. Moving on to its move pool, this Pokemon has its signature move being Flower Trick. It's a 60 base power physical grass move that crits all the time and can never miss, which is really cool. Obviously, I don't think the missing is going to be that big of a deal if there's like Bright Powder is never going to be in the meta really, but the fact that it always crits is really nice, so it can always go through the defense buffs or the attack drops that this Pokemon might incur. So really valuable there. It also gets a really good move here like U-turn for momentum, which is again always welcome. Play Rough is there for those dragon types that are going to try and switch in. I guess those fighting types too. Getting that extra chip damage is going to be really nice, especially if you have the Protein boost off of that, so you become immune to the dragon type attacks, and so that you're also going to be able to resist the fighting type attacks, and it also gives you a chance, I guess, to lower their attack stat, which is nice. Knock Off, one of the best moves available in Pokemon. This thing gets it. It's Stab, even when it is, well, actually no, it's not Stab unless it goes for Knock Off turn 1 because of the way Protein works. Leech Seed is solid overall because depending on your speed stat, the fact that this gets sub, a sub protect Leech Seed set can be really effective in certain matchups. Sucker Punch for priority is really good. Ally Switch in doubles is really nice, of course. Thunder Punch for coverage isn't bad at all, with Low Kick as well for those really bulky steel type Pokemon are usually really heavy. Taunts can be good in certain situations, as well as Helping Hand for doubles. And this thing also gets access to Spikes and Toxic Spikes. Yeah, another starter with access to hazards. Really good here. I'm a big fan this Pokemon got access to those moves because having a Pokemon that is as fast as this with Protein, you can turn to a poison type or turn to a ground type, or even do it down the line after you've used a couple of attacking moves and really set up for the rest of your team. You're forcing a lot of Pokemon out with your offensive stats, and having access to T-Spikes and Spike could really shape the game, shape the way the game's going to go for the remainder of the match. It gets access to Trailblaze too, which is a new grass move, 50 base power that boosts your speed stat by 1 stage. Not as necessary on a Pokemon like Meowscarada, but still could be kind of nice. It gets Pollen Puff, which is, again, interesting. I just want to bring it up because it's a rare Pokemon. You wouldn't see Pollen Puff on very many Pokemon at all. It's a base, what is it called? I think it's a 90 base power special bug move is what it is. It could be useful in certain spots, and I guess Shadow Claw as well if for some reason the Ghost type move is better than the Dark type move. So yeah, overall, Movepool, really wide, really diverse, really awesome, and pairs really well with what the Meowscarada can actually accomplish. Moving on to some teammates, we have a couple of them here, starting off with Quackaball, the starter for the Water-type Pokemon. This is Quaxly's final evolution. The Pokemon is a Water and Fighting type Pokemon, if you weren't aware of that. They cover each other really well, and both break through grass types and water types really effectively for each other, which is going to be really strong. They form a really good speed tier because I believe Quackaball is base 85 and this is at base 123, so they kind of cover each other that way, and they're able to have a lot of shared resistances, which is really useful over the course of a long game. Obviously both are weak to Fairy, but both of them pressure those Pokemon really well with their primary options being grass and water. Then there's Annihilate. Annihilate is the evolution to Primeape. This Pokemon is absolutely insane. It's got Marshallow's typing being Ghost and Fighting. I love this. This Pokemon pressures and just destroys opposing Ghosts and Darks with the Fighting and the Ghost Stab, which is really useful, and it's also got good speed as well. It forms another U-turn core with the Meowscarada. Then there is Iron Moth. Iron Moth is I believe it's the future form of the Volcarona. It is fire and poison. And one of the reasons why I like this so much is because it breaks down opposing water type Pokemon for Meowscarada, but it also is able to beat down grasses and come in and take their hits really effectively. It's got great stats overall, so I think Iron Moth makes a lot of sense to have as a partner for Meowscarada. Then we have Excalibur. Excalibur is the pseudo-legendary of this generation. It is Dragon and Ice type. This Pokemon sets up on waters and grasses and fire types as well. Basically, any Pokemon's going to want to come in on Meowscarada's stab attacks. This Pokemon can kind of just come in on, set up on, and, well, honestly be an absolute menace. This Pokemon can't be burnt with its ability, which is really useful, so having access to that is one of the better options for it. Its ability is really absolutely nuts. I'm going to cover that Pokemon as well down the line, but it's one of the Pokemon that can really take advantage of a lot of the checks that Meowscarada would have. Then for some old Pokemon, we have Landorus T. They cover each other's weaknesses really well. And again, another U-turn core, having access to Stealth Rocks and Lando T is really nice. This Pokemon can break offensively and forces in bulky waters to take the ground moves, or take on the, or grass types rather, focus on the ground moves, excuse me. It also forces in bulky waters just in general because they are really fat. And there's not as much recovery going on this generation, so they can break for each other really well. Then there's Magnezone. Magnezone traps steel types. Honestly, the best option I had here on this Pokemon for dealing with steel types was going to be Low Kick. Not the best, but there's still Corviknight in the game, and having Magnezone around to trap that thing could be really effective depending on what the rest of your team composition looks like, so Magnezone makes a lot of sense here as well. Then there's Enamorous Incarnates. This one primarily I think is going to be better than the Therian set. Reason being is that this is the Contrary user, which is going to be absolutely insane. It gets Contrary superpower now, which is broken, but I think Enamorous Therian works well as well because it could be a really solid bulky pivot with the Assault Vest. In general, could be just a solid Pokemon overall, great typing that pairs really well with the Meowscarada. Moving on to its items, I think a Life Orb works really well on a Pokemon like this. It has a lot of really good coverage and can switch up its moves and get that extra bit of oomph in its damage. Having a 110 base attack is fine, but getting the extra boost is really nice. Same goes for the Choice Band. Choice Band is really good because at the end of the day, you're going to really want that boost, and at sometimes the chip you're going to take from all the priority in the format and all the hazards in the format is going to start adding up, and as well with the Life Orb chip, of course. So having the Choice Band to break through even more is really, really important. Then there's an Assault Vest. This is one I'm a little bit hesitant on. It's got really good coverage, and there's certain spots where you want to run the AV to take a hit or two from like special water Pokemon, maybe a random ice type attack, but it's something that could work, just not going to be the most popular item. And then Heavy Duty Boots is great because it's going to be good on every Pokemon. This is an amazing item, arguably the best item in the game. I think it's pretty clearly the best item in the game, but at the end of the day, I think this Pokemon offers a lot for a team, and having Heavy Duty Boost to keep it healthy from hazards is really important. Now let's talk about some move sets, including a Choice Band set to start. We're looking at Protein, of course. The Terra type on this is going to be Dark because that would boost the power of your knockoffs, and this is an Adamant Nature set with Flower Trick, Knockoff, U-Turn, and Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch is really solid for priority in case you're dealing with some Scarpers, and in general, just a really solid move overall. I think a Heavy Duty Boot set, like I mentioned earlier, is good. We're going to keep 3 of the same moves here. The only thing we're switching out is going to be the Sucker Punch in exchange for Spikes or Toxic Spikes, depending on what you really want this Pokemon to do. But having options for these are really important and could honestly be one of the better fourth move options for a Pokemon like Meowscarada. Then I have the Assault Vest set. I just put Play Rough on the set over Spikes and Toxic Spikes. Main reason is because we want to have a way to hit those Dragon types that are going to come in outside of just Knockoff or like critting with Flower Trick. So that's one thing. And then I put a Life Orb on that set as well, because a Life Orb, again, boosting that damage could be nice. But I feel like the best sets are going to be the first two, the Band set and the Heavy Duty Boots set. Moving on to the predictions, I think this thing is actually going to fall into the UU tier. Why UU? This Pokemon seems crazy. It has basically Protein. I think Protein is not going to be as good this generation. Of course, it makes a lot of sense with the nerf. And I think because of that, it's going to fall off a little bit. I also think its typing offensively, while it's very good, its typing defensively is really not much left to be desired. It's not that great, to be honest. Because of the Protein nerf, it'll fall to UU. It has great speed and a really good move pool, but it will need to rely a lot on a choice band for extra damage output, which means it can't be as flexible in terms of what it's clicking, especially in terms of what it's going to run in terms of Spikes and T-Spikes, which are going to be really good in a format like this. As for VGC, I think it's going to be a great support Pokemon with something like a Helping Hand and stuff like that, but it kind of wastes the ability if you're going for a Helping Hand, because it's going to turn you into a normal type, which is really not all that, and you kind of want to have other typings available. I really wish that the options for this was going to be more consistent to Protein. If Protein was for the entirety of the game and didn't just end after one turn, then I think it would be much better in VGC, like a lot better in VGC. But because of that, I think there are just better options available for you as a fast support Pokemon than Meowscarada. As for Draft League, this is going to be my wheelhouse here. If you guys like that kind of stuff, make sure to subscribe to the channel, of course. The Draft League scale we're going to look at is a 17 to 18 point tier. So Pokemon that are worth 18 points are the most expensive and the best Pokemon available. I think this thing will fit around the 13 to 14 point tier pretty comfortably. It has a lot of weaknesses, but also has a lot of resistances. It can never safely come in on a potential U-turn Pokemon, which is a pretty big thing, and it has a lot of flexibility, which is, again, important in Draft League. You want to be able to catch your opponent off guard. One of the best things that it can do is that because it can run so many different sets and so many different moves, it can be a lot better than a lot of other Pokemon that are going to be released in this generation. And because of that, I think that in Draft League, it's going to be better than it would be in Smogon or in VGC, obviously. The speed tier for this and the hazards really make a big impact on a Pokemon like Meowscarada. Well, that's all I've got for you guys today on Meowscarada, the Grass Dark starter Pokemon from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I think this thing's going to be absolutely crazy. Definitely one of the best Pokemon to come out of this new generation. So if you guys are excited to use this Pokemon, let me know down in the comments below. Also, while you're there, make sure to leave a like on the video. We're aiming for 75 likes on today's content. If you guys enjoyed this type of video, then make sure to subscribe to the channel for daily Pokemon content and daily Pokemon guides for this new generation. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate your support. I want to give a big thank you to YouTube channel members as well. Our level 1s are Liv, Eric, Zeke, Texas Man, and our level 2 is Tone, and our level 3 is Sully. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow.